So I'm ready to start this run pretty much immediately. I just need to make my file. I didn't really make a incentive for file name because it isn't really relevant to the run at all. So I guess we'll just be NGA. That's the event. No, that's not what I... No. There we go. I got it right in the end. Got it. Second try. Second try for naming the file. That's consistent enough. So this run is going to be on easy difficulty. Normal difficulty is not very hard. Hard is really, really, really hard. But the main reason we want to use easy mode is so that we can exploit more super attacks going through the game. I'll explain that as we get there. So I'm just going to do a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I actually hit my split key even though I don't have it active. So yeah, this is Astro Boy Omega Factor. This is the first leg of the game called Birth, where Astro is essentially born and starts to go through his life as a robot. The story behind this game is that Astro is a robot created by a brilliant scientist, Dr. Tenma, to replace his son, who was killed in a car accident, which is kind of morbid, but yeah, that's what it is. And Astro has a variety of abilities for you to fight with and progress with. You've got basic hand-to-hand combat that you're seeing here. You have a jet booster, which you can use for movement. And you've also got a kick attack, and you've seen a little bit before, and I'm going to try again here, a finger laser. Which didn't get all the enemies with, damn it. But that fires across the entire screen. And Astro also has a couple of super attacks, which you'll see quite shortly as well, which are fueled by the super meter in the top center, and the super number shows how many of those super attacks I can use. So you can see that like I have 33 remaining. You have a lot of super attacks to use on easy. That's the most useful super attack I used just there, the arm cannon. And here's the leveling system of the game, the Omega Factor. You can see here I've got a bunch of stats that I'm able to upgrade, and you're able to choose which stats to upgrade every time Astro meets a character and learns their personalities. Because Astro is a robot who is designed to grow by interacting with people and taking in their emotions and motivations. So the more he learns about people, the more he grows, and the game translates that into the more upgrade points it gives you to play with. You can see there's lots of stats to choose from, stuff like life, punching power, laser, jets, stuff like that. For the most part for the speedrun, I just want to improve the laser as much as possible because the arm cannon, the super attack that you saw me use earlier, is by far the most damaging attack I have in the game. And that dispatches of bosses really, really quickly. Other stats just aren't really useful enough to invest into. Previously in this game we used to put 1 point into jets to improve mobility because it helps you move a little faster, but the time saved from having extra damage output just saves way too much time to bother with anything else, honestly. The jets can be used for temporary invulnerability as well as just to go straight through objects without interacting with them, which again is useful and will definitely be exploited in certain spots. So for this screen, these spiders are just going to appear in pretty static patterns. They spawn from the sides of the screen and the top of the screen, so I just need to try and anticipate where they're going to come from and deal with them accordingly. And after I've cleared out this wave, it's going to be the first, not really boss fight of the game, but the first fight with an enemy with a health bar. And I've got a specific damage route here, just 3 punches and then 2 arm cannons. That shouldn't be too low to hit. There we go, nice. So we're going to get another upgrade point here. Obviously, as you can expect, I'm skipping all the cutscenes, and I'm not really going to delve too much into what's going on with the storyline, because this game is actually like extremely story and lore heavy, and if I was keeping up with what's happening in the storyline at all times, I'd be spending the entirety of the run just talking about the story instead of the run. So this is the first fully fledged boss, Magnemite. A few different phases, but because of upgrading laser twice, each phase is dealt with just by using 1 punch and then an arm cannon, which is very easy. I should hopefully get this last hit in before he leaves the top of the screen. Yeah, there we go. So a very quick first boss fight. A lot of the bosses in this game are dealt with similarly quickly just by boosting the laser as much as possible. Like, casually speaking, the game obviously expects you to upgrade your abilities in a variety of ways so that you can play around with the upgrades and just see what does what. But for the purposes of a speedrun, you kill things really, really quickly with boosted laser. Such as in this auto-scroll section where all I have is the finger laser, and even though it hasn't been upgraded too much, it still kills stuff quite quickly. And the finger laser does run off the same laser stat as the arm cannon, but it's considerably weaker. I'm able to just use it constantly though. The only reason that we don't exploit the arm cannon constantly and the other super attacks is because of the fact that it has that short animation time. Like, I used the arm cannon there, and you can see that it has a short animation time when you ready it. That's the same with the other two super attacks of the game, the shot, or as I like to call it, the butt gun. Like, there's a machine gun that pretty much comes out of his butt, and the EX dash, which is performed with A and B at the same time. That's a very, very situational attack, and I mostly only use it if I need an extra jump. But the arm cannon, this is just the bread and butter of attacking, and I'll be using that to dispatch bosses as much as possible, pretty much. And as I say, the only reason I don't exploit that everywhere is the fact that it takes too much time to ready to be worth using in some situations. So although this is an auto-scroller, and although there are a lot of auto-scroller sections through the game, there is some optimization in these sections that comes in the manner of just knowing where enemies are going to spawn and taking care of them as soon as they come on screen, because the waves don't start after everything is off-screen and destroyed. So this is the artificial sun. Like, I'm literally fighting the sun that was in the last screen. Couple of arm cannons to get past the first phase. That ended fairly far away from the center of the screen, so there's a bit of travel time there, but it's fine. And now I'm just going to continue to arm cannon this thing to death. I do have to be careful of where I am, because the more health this thing loses, the larger it gets. And I don't have iframes completely against these jutting jets of flame while I'm in the arm cannon animation, so I do need to avoid them. But just use finger laser to finish there because he has very little remaining HP. So this fight upcoming here, it looks really simplistic and it is a bit of a joke fight, but getting the fastest kill is actually not trivial because I need to very carefully position and time my hit here. Nice, got it. 3 punches and laser. If I contact that tire, then I will immediately take a hit, and it has a really, really long recoil time, which can't be mitigated, so that is trickier than it looks. So for this screen, because I haven't put any points into Astro's hyper sensor, I can't see in the dark, so I have very limited field of vision, but this is not a particularly complex room, and I already know where to go. So again, I'm just going to continue boosting laser. I met another character down here, so I've got 4 points into laser now, and it's already getting pretty powerful. It's more than halfway to maximally boosted. There are a lot of optional upgrade points you can get in this game, but a lot of them are just too far out of the way to be worth getting. Many of them you just get as a consequence of progressing the story naturally, which is nice. Yet another point into laser. Alright. Those guys thankfully didn't get in the way. Their movements are like pretty random, and when they choose to stop an attack, but they didn't get in the way. So an arm cannon, this is kind of like a mini-boss, but just one arm cannon just completely dispatches of this thing. There's another wave of them that are going to come here, and I'm going to exploit the iframes provided by the boost to get through there without getting hit. And again, just arm cannon across the screen and take them all out in one hit. So there is an optional upgrade point in this room if I reveal a hidden character, and this is like directly in my path, so this one is well worth picking up, especially because this is an auto-scroller, so I'm like not really doing anything more useful in this section anyway. So I just revealed a character in the background by attacking the background at the same time. And again, just keep boosting laser. So yeah, the laser is almost completely powered up now. Funnily enough though, the next point that I'm going to get off the stage boss is actually not going to go into laser. It's actually going to go into the shot ability, which doesn't see too much use in the start of the run. It's very important for the end of the run, but it is useful to have 1 point in shot for the start of stage 3, for reasons that we'll see once we get there. So this is a neat little trick. There's a lot of instances in the game where enemies will essentially be on the sides of the screen. If you boost to the side of them, as long as they are not on the leftmost or rightmost pixel of the screen, you will be able to boost through them and then force them towards the center of the screen, so you can essentially get on the side of them. And that helps you use screen-wide attacks like the arm cannon to attack everything in a straight line. This is Pook, who has multiple different animal-based forms. This is Leo Force coming up. He always cycles through... Shit, I used that at the wrong time there. I'm not supposed to do that until that green aura goes away. He always cycles through his 4 forms at the start of the fight, and now he's going to randomly choose them. I don't mind any of these forms except the lion one. That one, again. I'd rather not see this lion form. But since he didn't use the lion form when he spawned in, after cycling through them, he can't use it again more than once, so that's not too bad. So again, just completely exploiting the arm cannon to really quickly get rid of the bosses. So now we get Pook's upgrade point, but this, like I said, is going to go into shot, not laser. Because at the start of this stage, which takes place on the moon actually, story justification for this is, oh, there's some sensitive like equipment and distress signals that are going haywire up here, so send Astro to investigate because he's a robot and he doesn't need oxygen and all that. But this is where we want the point in shot, because you have lots of enemies entering from the sides of the screen here, and if the shot wasn't upgraded, it wouldn't kill these things in one hit, but with 1 point in shot, it does kill all these things in one hit, which is considerably faster than manually going around the screen and dealing with them individually. So these huge enemies, they spawn like semi-randomly. There's some patterns, but for the most part, they're basically spawning in random spots, but a 4-hit punch combo will deal with them fairly easily. This is a very awkward screen to do quickly because I don't really have any points in jets, so my mobility is very limited. And if I miss enemies, like if I miss this guy going up, okay, nice, then I need to get to the very top of this shaft, and there's not really an easy way to do that without using the EX dash if I've run out of dashes. So I'm just using the finger laser here because it's faster than using the startup animation from the arm cannon. And these things, 6 punches will dispatch of them, and it's a similar sort of time to using the animation from the arm cannon. It's well worth it here because you can get all 6 of these enemies in one hit. And again, if there's enemies in a line that are strong, then it's well worth using the arm cannon to clear them out quickly. These guys here are very weak though, so I just finger laser these. And another group which it's faster to arm cannon. And just more groups continually that it's just faster to arm cannon against. Okay, so 2 hits. Immediately arm cannon this guy when he comes on screen. This is the strongest enemy class in the game. Like the generic enemies, their classes are divided by the colour of the enemies. I always miss the positioning up for that. Oh well. And the purple tier for normal enemies is the top tier. They are very, very bulky, and they also cannot be staggered. So I use the partial iframes provided from the arm cannon to continually do damage to them without risking taking a hit myself. This thing just requires 3 arm cannons, and he goes down. So in the next room, again, my vision is hampered from not having any points in sensor. It's not too bad this time, I can still see where everything is. But Astro nonetheless complains about, oh, my height isn't sophisticated enough to let me see in this area. So, yeah, he's not altogether too happy about that. This screen, for some reason, is extremely laggy. So it's very important for me to make each of these 4 enemy waves take as little time as possible. So again, I'm going to boost to the side, put them in positions where I can arm cannon. At the start of each of these, I'm trying to make sure I'm not attacking from the very boundary of the screen, because that makes it very likely that when that guy on the left comes on screen, he's just going to stop on the very left and use an attack which is difficult for me to interrupt. And since I want that section to go very smoothly and quickly, I really don't want to waste any additional time there. I couldn't beat that cycle. Gross. So another set of enemy waves here. I can just punch these guys very easily though, but if there's 2 enemies on screen at the same time, then the screen again gets very laggy. I'm not entirely sure why it's this screen in particular. It must be like the particle effects that play here. Maybe it's worth putting a point in sensor then, to see if I don't get the lag here. Interesting routing choice. Also, nice, exploiting the iframes from the boost to not get crushed there. It wouldn't kill me, but it's still interesting. So using the shot here again to clear out all the enemies here simultaneously, rather than fight them individually. And there's a few enemy waves here which are really easily dispatched with a punch combo, and for the toughest ones at the end that don't stagger, I'm again going to revert to using the arm cannon. So for these last 2 waves, I'm going to use arm cannons for these. You can see those guys continue to attack despite being damaged. So we're coming up on the stage 3 boss now, Atlas, who is kind of like Astro's rival. Again, because we've been upgrading the laser so much, this fight is honestly a joke, like all the other boss fights in the game. I actually messed that strat up, but it hardly matters. He's already half dead. And ideally you want to end him as close to the center of the screen as possible, because then he goes to that specific spot. So I'm going to intentionally take a hit there, and then just bait him back towards the left, so that he'll pretty much end where he began, to optimize that section. Yeah, like you can see he was very close to where he began, so that's slightly faster to do it like that. So now we're on our way to the South Pole. Astro's been sent as like a robot ambassador to meet the first robot president, because that's a thing that happens. Because, yeah, the South Pole is not very hospitable, so let's make a robot the president. That seems kind of racist, but whatever. And it gets interrupted by a human group of essentially terrorists who hate robots, and yeah, they want all robots to die, so they're trying to mess stuff up here. So we've got to kill all humans, because that's what a peaceful robot does. And yeah, we killed all humans and saved another character who we've discovered, but you can see from these couple of last characters we're not actually getting upgrade points, because there is 2 tiers of character discovery. You can see that some of the portraits in the Omega Factor are coloured. Those are the ones that I fully discovered and I get an upgrade point for. And then there's ones that are black and white. Those are the characters who I have physically met the character, but Astro doesn't yet know their full personality and their motivations. So, like, he doesn't understand the character yet, which is basically the story's way of saying, yo, you've met this character, but you don't actually know, like, who they are and what their deal is yet. So I won't get the upgrade points for those characters until those story events play. So more auto-scroller here, where I'm just trying to optimize as much as I can how to get through. And then we're told, oh, this was a distraction so that we could send a huge nuclear tank to the South Pole Conference. So now Astro's like, oh wow, I've got to get back there and stop that. So came all the way out here and now we're right on our way back to the conference. In another auto-scroller, this specific part of this auto-scroller, this is like exactly the same amount of time, no matter how you do it really. I used to do this section differently by using multiple shots because it's a screen-wide effect and it hits all these things simultaneously, but these things don't really get killed by one shot and they are not vulnerable at all times anyway, so between that, like needing to use multiple shots and startup time for the shot, since it's a super attack, I don't really think it's worth it. So just trying to take care of these waves, again, like as quickly as possible, as and where I can, from knowing like where they're going to come on screen. Okay, 2 here, yeah, and then 2 down there. Again, this part cannot really be sped up, so I'm just going to try and sit in spots where I'll avoid taking hits. The hitboxes in this game can be a little deceptive, but I didn't get hit there. Alright, well I dodged a hit here. Oh, man, I'm so good. I mess that up a lot more often than not. Like, it's not really of any consequence, because on easy you have not really a lot of health, but stuff generally doesn't do very much damage to you, so you can afford to damage boost very liberally on easy difficulty. But it's still nice to just not take damage. So one super here and finish off with the finger laser because it's very weak. Pick up the health pickup here. And this is the nuclear tank they were talking about, so this is Carib's, the next boss. So try and sit in his hitbox until the super runs out, boost to the front of him, and use another couple of supers to take care of this thing really quickly. I can either choose to like use the finger laser, take a hit, and finish it off, or use the super animation. I tend to prefer using the super animation, like it's fine. That's stage 4 done. This is like already more than halfway through the game. Wow. So now I've got to take care of like these human insurgents, these terrorists, just clear them all out, because again, as a peace-loving robot, the solution is to murder them, clearly. Wow, that's really bad luck for all these guys to have spawned on that one side. And yeah, I got punched. This can be really irritating when enemies can attack like this. These guys in particular, if they use the charged punch, you just go flying across the screen and you can't really mitigate the recoil animation that you get. Similar to the tire fight that I was talking about before in stage 2. So I always know that that wave's going to come down like that, so just arm cannon from across the stage. And do not get hit by that red guy, he is very, very strong. On normal or hard, he'll actually kill you. Like, with your starting health 30,000, he actually just kills you in one hit, I believe. Not on easy mode, but he still hits you very, very hard. So now that the laser is fully upgraded, I'm going to turn my attention to the shot, which I said wasn't particularly useful for the start of the game. It's very useful for the end game though, because the point of the shot is that, number one, it's a screen-wide attack, so it will hit everything on the screen. And although it is very weak, like, nominally it really doesn't do very much damage, so I will not be using it for damage output on bosses. What I will be using it for on bosses instead is to keep them stunned. Because the more points you have into shot, the greater stun time it gets against bosses, and that is very significant for keeping certain bosses held down so that I can get quick kills on them. Because a couple of the later bosses have gimmicks where like you're not supposed to be able to beat them in one fast combination. They're meant to drag the fights out by either turning invisible or only having certain periods of weakness. So the shot is very important for keeping those particular bosses held down. And it generally just makes a lot of the other bosses a lot easier to deal with as well. Since it keeps them... When the shot is maxed out, it essentially lets you get 2 free arm cannons in before they become active again, so it is very useful. Alright. 2, 3, 4... Oh, look at that, just estimating perfectly. It's good. Taking hits though, that's not so good. I would prefer to not take like tons and tons of damage from here on out, because there is an optional health pickup a bit later in the stage, but it's a little out of the way to get, and I'd prefer to not have to get it if I don't need to. Like, if I finish from here, 18,000 health, then 17,000, okay, then I can perfectly manage this. So these enemies I can attack, or I can alternatively force them to detonate by being very close to them when they spawn, and that's obviously very quick. So that's what I opt to do there. Again, just exploiting knowing where they're going to come on screen. With these enemies, you can see I'm targeting the platforms rather than the enemies on them to force them to get destroyed very quickly. Alright, so this train has 3 separate weak spots. The top 2 are very weak, but the bottom one is quite a bit bulkier. And then there's another like layer of... yeah, there's another round here, but this is a short attack, so that's going to go back in. Yep. Please give me a long one here so I don't have to wait for another set. Please kill. Alright. That wasn't particularly good. Like, that wasn't particularly good RNG, but it is what it is. So with 17,000 HP, I'm going to try to do this section without grabbing more health. I'm using the kick here, which is your other hand-to-hand ability, to send enemies flying across the screen, and they will actually collide with each other and deal a little bit of damage and cluster everyone into the same place. It's a very useful crowd control ability. Like you can see there where enemies go flying across. Okay, definitely not going to complain about how that screen went. These green guys are quite a bit tougher, and they do have projectile attacks. And they will... oh my god. Yeah, so I got punched there. And you can see Astro just goes flying across the screen. It may happen again here. And it happened again, immediately. The problem with this section is that because the sides of the screen are obscured, I can't see who's behind me. Like, where did that guy come from, for instance? It's like, that's ridiculous. So I am at low health, but there is another health pickup I get right here from Wally, who I met in stage 2. And we go straight into this boss fight with Dead Cross. I move a little to the right before I start attacking here, because the laser pushes human targets as it hits them. And if I didn't move to the right, Dead Cross would have gotten pushed off-screen. And off-screen targets do not take damage in this game. And he can attack you from off-screen, so I wanted to avoid that happening. Nice, I paused before the stage was over. Alright. So we get another point from Dead Cross, who was the head of that organisation, and continue boosting shot. All I'm going to boost from now on is shot, until I've maxed out shot, and then I'll just upgrade life, because it's the fastest to upgrade. But that is one point in life that I'm going to use. So, story for this part of the game is we've just been transported, like, many, many years back in time to an ancient civilization. I don't know, don't ask me, but that's honestly the direction the game takes. So... now we're going to go and defeat the new evil mastermind who has brought us here, who wants to take over the world. Because, you know, anime. So again, pushing guys into the center of the screen using a screen-wide, well, essentially at this point, screen-wide arm cannon. Kick these guys across the screen to cluster them all in the same place. Again, arm cannon everything. This thing is really overpowered when it is fully boosted, I keep telling you. The arm cannon is super overpowered when it's fully boosted. Like, casually speaking, if you don't have a full arm cannon by this point, or really if for some reason you haven't been putting points into laser, then these things take a lot more punishment. I'm gonna kick these guys again if the game will allow. I don't like when this guy just ignores damage like that, so you've gotta jump up to force the issue so that he'll stop defending. Dude, this purple guy's so tough. Like I'm saying, the purple enemies are super, super tough, and they don't stagger. So one arm cannon here, and then I'm going to follow up with a finger laser, actually, because those guys are very weak after that point. This screen seems intimidating with these rolling wheels that, again, cause the uninterruptible or unrecoverable recoil animation if they hit me, but I can exploit a little movement bug there where doing a horizontal boost against a slope gives me extra speed. So this is Sharaku, this is the guy I was talking about. I just used a manipulation there to force a specific attack from him. This guy has a couple of super attacks of his own that he can use. This is one of them. This is the most helpful one that he can use. Like, it's the one that I can most easily manage the fight with. Because that one had red text. The one I really don't want to see is the one with green text. That one, which I still got, wow, because his attack ended really soon. The reason I'm hanging around here is because I can't damage him. Whilst he's in this animation using this attack, I cannot damage him, and you can see how long that takes. So I really wanted to avoid that, but Unfortunately, his super attack ended really early for some reason. So I know that manip works, but seems mileage still kind of varies a bit. Oh well. So we defeat him, we're able to... I should have put that point into shot. Shouldn't really matter. Like, I can still get by here with this amount of shot. So we get back to the present, and robots have essentially taken over the world, because reasons. And we've got to fight the set of quote-unquote world's strongest robots. Like, there's a weird shadowy figure called Shadow, who has united the robots against the humans, and is leading the world's strongest robots. And Astro's like, nah, that's not okay. So now we're gonna destroy the robots. What? North. You troll. Alright, this is a bad fight against North, but whatever. Thankfully, we do get an upgrade point for each of these fights. So, again, I'm going to continue to boost shot. So this second fight against this little kid here, Denko, is one of the most annoying fights in the game. This is really where I need the shot points. So 2 punches and a laser, and then I'm going to use shot to keep him locked in place. If I don't do this, then I can't hit him in time, and he uses his gimmick, which is to teleport away. I need to use another shot, because, again, yeah, I didn't have the extra point in shot, so it did a little less damage than I anticipated. Yeah, if you don't keep him permanently locked down, then he is just going to turn invisible, and you need to go around the entire area disabling sensors to make him visible again. That takes forever. This is Brontus. This guy is very random with his movements, and he's only vulnerable at specific times, so... Come on, dude. Oh, this is bad RNG. Okay, so he's at least gonna get up here. So after he finishes one of his main attacks like that, now he's vulnerable. But since I have fewer points in shot than I anticipate, he's not going to remain stunned for as long as I kind of need, so I'm going to need to use shots more frequently than I normally would here. Normally I would use 2 lasers and then a shot, but here I'm going to kind of have to use a shot per laser, just to make sure I keep him held down, because it's honestly random how long Brontus decides to move around and remain invulnerable. Like, I can't rely on him using another quick attack to have a vulnerable moment. I should finish off with another laser here, though. Right, nice. So that's 3 of the 4 world's strongest robots. Well, 5, but one of them is their main leader. And this is going to be the 4th one, Epsilon. This is the penultimate boss of the game. Epsilon is random which attacks he decides to use at the start. I'm probably going to see which attack he's readying as I use the shot from which arm he lifts. Okay, right arm. So I need to keep him held down here, because he's readying an attack where he's going to be invulnerable, and he will summon a set of lasers which will essentially kill me if I contact them for more than a few frames. I'm not joking when I say that. So it's kind of not optional to not get hit by those. I can finish him off before that animation starts. Nice. So those are the 4 world's strongest robots defeated, but we still have their leader, Pluto, to take care of. Pluto is like the bulkiest enemy in the game. Another set of like really random attacks, but it's not going to take too long to dispatch of him. And time is going to be when Pluto's health bar reaches 0. Wait, what's he starting the fight with? Okay, something. I don't know what he's starting with, but it was not the spin attack, which allows me to get 2 quick lasers off. That's the spin attack. I'm not going to be able to interrupt that, yeah. I was really lucky that ran out when it did, because if that contacts me, then nothing good happens. I'll say that much. Okay, so he's readying one of his very laggy attacks, so I'm going to use another laser to keep him held down here, so I can get another couple lasers off before that attack starts. And I should just be able to finish him from here, so time is within a few seconds. Pretty much when this arm cannon finishes. Time. And that is Birth, the first leg of Astro Boy Omega Factor. The run really doesn't do the story and plot of the game justice. If you think the game looks interesting and just a lot of fun, I really urge you to check this out, both as a game to play casually, just have fun with, and to also try speedrunning, because this is honestly a very easy game to get into. I would definitely recommend this as a first speed game to get into. And if you're interested about what happens here at the end of the story, there's a bunch of cutscenes, and then the world is aflame, and everything's destroyed, and Astro dies. All the robots die. So, yeah, you need to play the full game to find out what happens. But yeah, it's interesting. That's Astro Boy Omega Factor Birth. Only the first bit of the game. You guys don't get to see the full game. I didn't submit that. I'm sorry. So if you want to see how the story progresses, you're going to have to play the game for yourself, or watch a Let's Play, either or watch my runs of other categories, which I still skip the cutscenes, so you're still not going to see the story. But that's the game, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the marathon.